Welcome to the 2026 SGA presidential debate hosted by Revolution Radio and the College Heights Herald. My name is Jake McMahon, and I am the editor-in-chief of the Herald.
And I'm Kane Smith. I'm the assistant news editor of the College Heights Herald.
And we are happy to be here with our two SGA presidential candidates.
Hi, my name is Caden Lucas. I'm a junior here on the Hill studying political science and legal studies. I currently serve as a junior senator within the Student Government Association as well as chair of the Legislative Operations Committee. Really excited to be here today to talk about the Lucas Barker Daireberry ticket, what our vision for SGA is, and a quick thank you to both the College Heights Herald, Jake and Kane, and Revolution Radio with our friends Ian, Jonah, and Sam behind the scenes here for hosting us today.
What's up, everyone? My name is Jaden Marshall, and I'm so honored and proud to be here. Special thanks to the Herald and everyone who helped put this interview together. We had an amazing town hall last night, and I'm honored to be sitting here next to Caden Lucas, someone that I consider a friend and someone that I'm honored to even be running against. Proud to talk about MBV. In our vision, Marshall, Blankenship, and Van Ruden, our vision for SGA. I proudly serve as the ISEC Senator for SGA and the Vice Chair on the Enrollment and Student Experience Committee. And I'm just honored to be here, and I can't put into words how much it means for me to even be sitting here in this chair in this moment. So I'm honored, I'm ready to go, and this is going to be fun.
There you go. If y'all are ready, kick it off with some questions.
Absolutely.
First, say you're elected. First day on the job. What are you immediately looking to do and instill as student body president?
Well, the one thing that I want to instill is community, right? I believe in my future CFO, if we're elected, tells me all the time, he's like, you have to surround yourself with people who care about you but are going to challenge you, right? And so all the ideas that I have running through my head, and trust me, there are a lot of them, we may not be able to act on them right then and there. It's going to take conversation. So what I want to instill is a team around me that's going to hold me accountable and allow me to perform the best as student body president. And that's going to come from within, and then we'll be able to exert that out into the Senate, our Judicial Council, and whatnot, especially when we're able to get everybody together for a Senate meeting and going into the fall. I think it's important to have that camaraderie between your team, that connection, that communication, so that we're able to then put forth the best platform for the student body. So strengthening my team and making sure we're ready to go, because we wouldn't get started until the fall for day one.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great, Jane. I love that. I think the first thing I think of when it comes to my mind is if we're elected, our team is put together, we're ready to go, we're set. And I think of collaboration. Like I said, we talk about what SGA can do on campus and how those things can work. And like, sure, a lot of the stuff that we can't do won't come back in the fall just because, that wind down of the spring semester. But that work does start day one as soon as you're inaugurated or sworn into the Senate. So I immediately want to sit down, especially with two big stakeholders, Dr. Shane Spiller and Dr. Jennifer Hammonds, the faculty and staff regent on the Board of Regents, respectively, just because that's a huge chunk of what the student regent role as a part of being student body president looks like, right? So immediately sitting down with them, working to see what their heads are, what we can be expecting, but also letting some other partners on campus know like what SJ is going to look like in the coming phase. I think a lot of it is like SJ is for the students, obviously, and we have that standpoint, but a lot of people work together to make that work, such as faculty and staff, and letting those individuals know that SJ is for them too, and that we're here to support them, and that's what the Lucas Barker Daireberry ticket is going to look like moving forward.
So back to you, Caden. What do you believe is the single biggest problem facing WKU students today?
And I love this question. We got to chat a little bit about this last night too. And I think it's continually the rising cost of higher education in general, specifically at mid-sized schools like WKU. We've seen in the past few years, especially this most recent year, where the WKU Board of Regents had to approve the implementation of college fees, which stack on top of tuition for students in order to continue, operating WKU and keeping those things keeping the functionality of this university at a high rate. But unfortunately, that places that burden back on college students to continue to pay for the opportunities that they, have at the university, but that places them right back on them to continue to make those things happen. And like I said, this is something that we're seeing across the United States, especially as state legislatures begin to dwindle down on the funding that they're giving to higher education universities. The state legislature itself in its budget year has approved over the next 2 years a 7% decrease for WKU specifically. I think totally around that $1.5 million funding drop for our university specifically. And that's going to hit hard. That's going to hit our students hard. And I think that this is a problem that students are not only going to face in the next year if through the Lucas Barker Daireberry administration if we're elected, but also specifically in years coming. And I think that's something that me not only being student body president and collecting those voices from students and their concerns, but taking that to the Board of Regents and making sure that we're considering those implications and what we're subjecting students to have that WKU experience as Hilltoppers.
For me, I would say two things. We talk about adequacy a lot and advocating for students. I am someone who has had the pleasure to serve on many student organizations such as Campus Activity Board, MPHC Executive Board, member of MPHC, member of Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated, vice president of the Why Not Us Black Male Initiative. And I'm coming from an area of campus that doesn't really feel, and again, I think our current student body president, Russ Robinson, has done a great job of this, but they want to feel more included in SGA. So how are we going to do that? Caden's talked about it as well. We want to collaborate. We want to invite them into the Senate. If they can't make it, we want to meet them where they are, right? And again, that's a problem on this campus, advocacy. We want to advocate for those students. Also, I believe there's a housing crisis going on, and my CFO, Miles Van Rood, once again, if elected, is going to work with me on that as well, because he's an RA and because he sat in on several of those meetings with Ms. Catherine LaRoche and the housing board and whatnot. Again, it's a situation. Hilltoppers come here, again, costs are rising, right? And we go into these dorm halls, and some of the things that we are being told by Hilltoppers as far as, late maintenance requests, although I don't think that's on maintenance right now, that they're going through a lot right now currently. One of the things that we worked on at SGA is trying to get water dispensers in dorms, right? Because a lot of dorms don't really have water fountains. We want to enhance students' college experiences, and that goes into dorm halls, right? Again, where you lay your head, where you sleep is very important. It's very important, and we have Hilltoppers on this campus that are not happy with the way our dorm situation is going. We have a new deal with P3 that we're getting ready to, and I'm sure there'll be some questions about it. Like I said, we've done our best to do our research on it, and again, it's something that's going to affect the university in many years to come. But again, what can we do right now to help affect Hilltoppers? Some to even take to the Board of Regents, right? I met with Miss Cynthia Nichols, who sits on the board currently, and she's a funder for ISEC. And she's someone who's had an amazing impact on my college experience because she's funded a place on campus for me to go and feel like I belong, just like many others. And SGA is a part of that. One of the things that we did was the Black History Month Trivia Night. That invited so many students in and allowed students from that area of campus to feel as if they belong with SGA. And again, Russ Robinson helped me plan that, our current student body president. And we want to continue that. Again, our campaign slogan, MBV, our campaign slogan is, we're for the Hill, we're for the students, for you. And that's the best way to do it. We want to advocate. Like I said last night at the town hall, I want to be that shoulder to lean on. If you have a problem, if you have an issue, and I know Caden will as well if elected, we want to be that person that you go to say, hey, this is what's going on. Do you know who I can talk to fix it? There's been several times where I've went to Rush's office and said, hey, I don't know what to do. He's pointing me in the right direction to fix it. We've got to meet students where they are and figure out how we can help solve problems now. And if we can't, again, like I said, one of the three roles for this position, we talked about it last night, student body president, SGA president, and you sit on the Board of Regents as a student regent. So we want to work with the Board of Regents on these issues as well. We want to bring these student issues to the Board of Regents and say, hey, this is what fellow Hilltoppers want, and how can we help solve it?
Now, Caden, I sort of want to follow up on something you mentioned for that question, and Jaden, I'd love to hear your thoughts as well.
Sure.
But that $1.5 million roughly cut to the budget for 26 and 27, you said it's going to hit our students hard. What are some ways that you think that's going to affect WKU students?
Yeah, and I think overall, that's from my understanding, it's like an institutional overhead problem. So that's just funding that's going to come out of the budget or not come from no longer state sport. But when you lose that money, that money has to come from somewhere, right? Either we have to make cuts elsewhere, or that money has to come from a new source. And WKU has obviously multiple revenue producing streams, but a lot of times that does fall back on students in terms of tuition, and now we have college fees as well. And so I think that students are going to feel that in a broad variety of ways. It might be more directly with we have the implementation of college fees, and students are going to continue to see that. They might see it in an increase in tuition. We see that with inflation happening year after year every time the board passes the budget, but we might see that more hard this year. I'm interested to know what the university administration is going to propose to, essentially prevent such problems from happening with that downfall and with that shortcut. But I think students are going to feel it everywhere. They're going to do it. They're going to feel it in dorms. They're going to feel it in their experience. They're going to feel it in dining. I think we're going to have to come together to find a solution to make that work. But I think it's going to be, a hindrance on their Hilltopper experience. And SGA, especially the Lucas Barker Dairy Barrier ticket, is really dedicated to making sure that we can fill those gaps where they have. We have a budget from the university, and we want to use that to the fullest capacity to make sure that students know that we see that there's a downfall in that regard, right? And that we're making sure that we're generating the resources and making sure that those resources are open to all students to use to make that experience better.
Absolutely, and just to echo those sentiments, I think SGA is currently taking steps to help with, like I said, college fees and whatnot. We just passed a bill not that long ago for, I believe, textbooks, right, to kind of help with students because they have to pay for textbooks and what. And I'll say this: I've been blessed and fortunate to have all online classes this semester, so haven't really needed. Most of my textbooks have been online, of course, but that's been an issue that students have ran into. And with the rising costs, again, we're college students, right? I work a job. I work on the WKU dairy farm, and like I said, I get paid a decent amount, but I don't want to speak for all college students, but working a full-time job is kind of hard when you're a college student, right? So how can we make life easier for Hilltoppers? Working with our current senators to pass legislation to make life easier. Like I said, the textbook thing that we just passed, you can come to SGA and get a Scantron. Like I said, not to say that you have to pay for those, but again, we're using our resources to then help Hilltoppers to save money and to keep money in their pockets. Also, our athletes, for example, we just had a tailgate on South Lawn, which generated the biggest crowd for a baseball game since 2016. Right? How can we generate more revenue for our athletes? We've got to get people to games. That's something that our administration is definitely going to do. I've been proud to have talks with women's soccer, the men's basketball team, women's basketball team, football, even members of the golf team. How can we get people to your matches or your games or your track and field or your meets? We want to be able to support you so that we can then figure out a way to get more revenue for the university. And again, from Board of Regents aspect, from talking to Ms. Nichols and exchanging emails back and forth with Mr. Shane Spiller, they told me I would sit, like I said, if elected, of course, and Caden as well, if elected, would sit on 2 committees. And again, just being that student voice. We currently have a Google form out right now to where my ticket, MBV, we didn't want to wait until if we're elected to start advocating for students. We want to get on it now. So we have a Google form out right now for students to submit requests to us about what issues they have around campus, concerns or issues, and how we can help that. And one of the things is rising costs. So we want to work with our senators. I want to work with the Board of Regents. We want to work with staff, faculty, and the administration to help enhance that experience, and rising costs is a part of that.
So, Jaden, we'll kick it back to you.
Sure.
What are some things you feel WKU is doing right for the student body here?
Doing right. Well, I tell you what, again, just talk on the SGA front. The community, right? I started out the town hall last night talking about the amazing, beautiful campus that we have. My sister my sister's getting ready to graduate high school, and I don't know if she's going to come to WKU, but the one thing she said when she came and toured here was the amazing campus that we have. It was so beautiful. She loved Preston. She loved walking down the hill and being able to look at some of our buildings that they have, and I know some of them may be getting more kind of on the older side. But again, just our beautiful campus. I think we've done a great job at expounding upon that. Our WKU social media team does a great job at taking photos around our campus and putting everything on social media for people who don't even go to WKU to see. Social media runs the world nowadays. Again, we have campaign pages. We're on social media all the time. Everyone's always got their phone in their hand. And it's amazing to be able to look on social media and just see what you would get with your WKU experience from a social media standpoint. Now, back to SGA, I think our student body president, Russ Robinson, has done a great job on making SGA a resource. It was one of the things that he told me and Caden before he got elected. He wants to make SGA a resource for all students around campus. Not necessarily something that you come to and you have to sit and you got to listen to, this bill's being presented, yada, yada. No, come in. We want you here. More student speakers. I think we've had two student speakers, Raina Taylor and Caden Blankenship, but we've also had a lot of faculty, admin, and staff speakers as well. And Russ Robinson has done a great job of bringing them in and allowing them to talk to us and say, hey, this is what's going on from my respective organization or department on campus. Here's how SGA can help. And so I think we've done a great job of that, and that's something that we want to continue to bring to the table. We want more students there. We want more admin staff and faculty there, and we want to keep up the momentum that our current SGA has started and continue to take it to the next level if elected.
Yeah, absolutely. On that same front, and I agree with Jaden on all of those aspects as well. There's so many parts of this hill that make this place so special and make it what it is. And I'm so proud when I walk around and I see all of those things happening together to make the student experience at WK what it is. Some things that come to my mind most recently, I know that Housing has been doing a lot of events with their LLCs as well as around campus, and I love seeing students line up at those. It's been so great to see turnout for those events, whether it be movie nights in DSU or just different things on South Lawn. I love seeing that. Another thing most recently is I want to shout out our Chief Facilities Officer, Mr. Bryant Russell. He's been great to work with SGA. Most recently, me and another senator, if you see the red Adirondack chairs sitting around campus on Centennial Mall and soon to be Garrett Plaza, those have been an SGA initiative of mine, and I'm really grateful to have been able to work with Mr. Russell to make those things happen. Like I said, just bringing tangible resources that make WKU feel even more like a home for students, and just being able to sit and enjoy the beautiful spaces we have on campus in those red Adirondack chairs that make you feel like you're home at WKU is a part of that experience, right? But also yesterday, we have been so grateful to have so many Hilltoppers reach out to us in our campaign and be like, listen, I'm experiencing this problem. What's your take on that, or how are you experiencing? One thing that I recently got talked to a student about is the fencing in front of Cherry, and seniors especially are a little upset they can't take pictures in front of the beautiful historic building that Cherry is because there's the fence in front of it. And so I was glad I reached out to Mr. Russell, and I was like, Mr. Russell, I'm curious. I want to educate myself on this. I want to educate my other Hilltoppers on this that are asking about these types of things, and just curious to know what your standpoint is. And Mr. Russell and his great things that he does, because he not only manages facilities facilities, but also planning, design, construction. So his plate is huge. And he's a great partner that we have in SGA, and I'm proud to be able to work with him. He's like, that fence is there for safety because we are actively doing stuff on the outside of Cherry, such as patching and cleaning and all of the works. But there's fence coverings coming that will be that will showcase what Cherry is supposed to look like, that are going to go over the fences so people can see that. He's also requested to have the fountains turned on in the coming weeks so that students can have that experience as we enter spring and summer as well. And so I think there's so many aspects of WKU that just work together so seamlessly, and that once again, that's on that aspect of collaboration that we're really seeking to implement in SGA. And I know we will, and I know Jaden will too. We've already seen it, like we're talking about here today. And I'm just really proud, like I said, of those housing things, especially as housing might be experiencing some issues and students have maybe a bad taste in their mouth because of that. Then bringing out those events and really getting students engaged. And once again, facilities for just keeping our campus beautiful, but also working with SGA in the ways that we have to enhance that student experience and make things better for our Hilltoppers.
So each of you have kind of touched on some of the similarities you share with the current SGA administration. What are some policy changes you're looking forward to if elected? We'll start with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I'm so grateful to be supported by the current SGA Executive Cabinet. They've done a fantastic job. They've been mentors of mine, not only mentors, but friends. And I'm excited. We have our SGA banquet tonight. So we all get to go and celebrate with one another as a family, as we've always been. When I think of that, I guess I don't necessarily think of policy changes, but I think of maybe like some reframing of how we're looking at SGA and maybe advertising SGA in that regard. One thing that I think we do a good job at is we're very good at opening the door. But we're opening the door and we're leaving the door in the same place. So we're opening that door for students to come in to the SGA Senate, to our meetings on Tuesdays at 5, to come into the office past student activities and grab a transcript voucher, a dental voucher, an ID voucher, borrow the calculator from our Borrow the Calculator program, borrow an umbrella, borrow our hammock, and utilize our resources. But I think one thing that we could do better is literally taking that to students. I think not only waiting for them to show up and knock, but literally taking an open door to them and meeting them exactly where they are in their experience on the Hill. And I think for our administration, for the Lucas Barker Dareberry ticket, that is really one of the core things, especially as it goes back to one of our platforms. Of course, our slogan is lead, build, deliver, but expansively that means lead transparently, build accessibility, and deliver experience. And that really is in that build accessibility and deliver experience category where we're looking at, we want to not only expect students and maybe organizational leaders to show up to SGA. We want to take SGA to them. We want to take Student Government Association and go to RSO meetings, go to students, go to places where students gather, give a little presentation about what SGA is, but also just to connect with them as people. Share our experience in the SGA, how it can help them, but also what they can get as Hilltoppers from us. Showcase our resources, showcase our scholarships, our organizational aid, and truly show them by coming out to them and meeting them where they're at, opening the door, taking the door to them, that SGA is for them and we want them to continue to be a part of that process. And that's something new. We're used to SGA, we're used to people to coming to us, but when we take it on the road, we got to know how we're impacting people, right? And so a big part of that for us as well is on that feedback aspect of what is working well as we're taking SGA to these students more directly. What's working well? What are they responding to? And how can we continue to support Hilltoppers to make sure that one, they know what SGA is, two, they're seeing it. They're seeing our activities and our resources utilized in meaningful, clear, and visible ways. And how can we continue to improve that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And again, our campaign platform is we want to grow SGA, and just to echo Caden's sentiments, that's what we got to open the door. I take a slightly different approach, bridging the gap, right? Ever since I got to campus, I've been proud in advocacy and whatnot, and I joined my fraternity spring 2025. And so one of the things that I did was I saw a gap between MPHC, IFC, and PAN. Not to say that it was anyone's fault, but that collaboration factor wasn't there, right? Go talk to some of my MPHC colleagues. Why are you not collaborating with IFC and PAN? Oh, they do their thing over there. We do our thing over here. No, we're all WKU Greek life. We all share this same experience together. So why not come together and try to form a better WKU collective? I believe we've done that. I am the only person from MPHC, and I'm very proud of this. I'm the only person from MPHC that attends IFC meetings regularly because I want to inform MPHC about what's going on with IFC. I've attended some PAN meetings. I don't go every week, but I've attended some PAN meetings, and it's truly been an honor to attend. So just continuing to bridge that gap. SGA is a part of it. I said it last night. When you walk up to a student and you say, hey, I'm in SGA, blah, 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 whatever your position is. Do you even know what SGA is? No. That's a problem. To me, that's an issue. Why do you not know what SGA is? Again, that's not to say that it's someone's fault, but to me, that's something that I want to address. We want to come out with weekly Senate reports. And again, I mentioned it last night. This will come from the executive cabinet, the legislative cabinet, and judicial cabinet. Just about what we've done and what we're doing in SGA, what happened at our last Senate meeting, and things that we plan to do to move forward. Why? I'm glad you asked. We can't expect people to come to Senate meetings every single Tuesday. We can't expect people to be in the Senate chambers, to be in those seats. Why? People have homework, people have jobs, people have personal lives. We've got to meet people where they are. And so my thing is, I want to work on that initiative. I believe the weekly Senate reports would do that. My future, if elected, my future chief financial officer said this last night, and this was a big deal. He says he wants to take away some money from stipends that we would get and go directly back into our scholarship fund for students. I think that is so important. I'll tell you what. I would not care if this position paid $0. It doesn't matter to me about the position. It doesn't matter to me about the money for the position. I'm running for this because I believe I can do the job. Like I said, I'd be proud if I was running for a Senate seat. The position, the money, it's about advocating for students. It's about getting out there, putting your name out there and saying, hey, I'm in so-and-so position. This is who I am, and I want to advocate. You don't have to put a dollar amount on it. So I am in full support of my CFO in regards to taking money away from our stipends and develop. And again, the exact amount, I'm not really for sure. He didn't give one, but he says that's something that he wants to look into. And I'm 1,000% in support of that. We've got to figure out ways to continue to support our fellow Hilltoppers. So I think advocacy, getting out there, and again, money coming away from our stipends, going back into our scholarship is an initiative that we will definitely work on because, again, it's not about the money. It's about how we can support Hilltoppers. And scholarships is also another thing that a lot of students have put on that Google form. They want more scholarships. And so whether we bump the scholarship amount up, whether we split the scholarships up, we want to devote more money into scholarships for our students so that they can be afforded more opportunities to stay here at WKU with those rising costs.
And I think you both sort of touched on it in your response to that question, but a lot of what y'all talked about last night at the town hall, especially in your opening statements, is how you want to make SGA more known to the student body here at WKU. Yeah, sure. Why are you that person to improve SGA outreach? How are you going to do it, and how will you bridge that gap?
Oh, awesome. And like I said, and he's already doing it. Like I said, this is the man right here, Caden Lucas. But like I said, just to speak on myself again, the only person from MPHC that comes to IFC and PAN meetings. That's so important. I'll never forget my first PAN meeting. There was a girl that walked up to me. And she's like, your meeting's after this. This is PAN. I'm like, I know. Paneling President Carly Powell knows I'm here. Oh, okay. Okay, right? And then Carly Powell, who's done an amazing job as secretary for the Senate, allowed me to come up there and speak. And I think it's an amazing thing. Why am I the person to do it? Because I've already done it. I've already started. Ever since I joined my fraternity, Bridging the Gap, we've worked with IFC and PAN. I'm also the mentorship coordinator at the Warren County Day Treatment Center, which is an alternative school here that we have in Bowling Green that houses students that have made some mistakes in school, that have gotten themselves into some legal trouble. They're good kids, but it's essentially an alternative school before they face harsher punishments like jail or expulsion. And I'm there every single Tuesday and Friday, and I'm bringing people, and Caden's fraternity's been there, to talk to our kids. Why do I bring that up? Because we're getting IFC, we're getting PAN, we're getting different RSOs from around campus to come and talk to our kids about how to become better citizens in society, resume building, public speaking. We're already doing those things. So why am I the person to expand outreach? Because I've already done it. I've done it for MPHC, I've done it for Warren County Day Treatment, and believe it or not, I've done it for SGA. One of the things that I also want to work on, and again, this will probably be tasked to my Vice President, Caden Blankenship, because he'll be directly over the Senate, is I want to work with our outreach and community relations committees on expanding SGA beyond WKU, for example. Again, we want SGA at the Warren County Day Treatment Center. We want SGA at Curbside Ministries, which is another community service project that's very prominent with my fraternity. We want them coming and speaking to different high school students about SGA, which I've had the privilege to do so with our executive cabinet and different senators, and also going to talk to different RSOs around campus, working with our outreach committee. I think it's important, but it's the number one thing. Very important that we expand SGA on outreach, and that's the reason why my campaign platform is what it is. We want to expand SGA and put it in rooms that it's never been before. So why am I the person to do it? I've already done it, and it's something that I want to continue to do if elected, of course.
Yeah. And total shout out to Jaden. It's been a pleasure to watch you do a lot of that work and be a part of that in a lot of ways and see it happen. When I think about this, and when Lucas Barker Derryberry originally sat down to kind of think through these things and make these things happen, we were like, SJ has promoted itself to students, but there's something missing. There is something not clicking. There is like a misplaced in connection in terms of what are we getting to students versus why are we getting them engaged. And it's something that we've always asked, right? Like this goes back to the age-old question of like, how do we get people to do things? Like everybody struggles with that to a certain point. And I think when we think about this, we really think about it like, who else or what else can we bring into SGA to make people want to be involved? Like, what are the missing aspects that people really want to see that we're not currently hitting? And aside from SGA, but in partnership with it also, this is something that is just something that I'm passionate about in general. I'm blessed enough to work as the downtown development intern for the city of Bowling Green, and my job is literally to coordinate partnerships between businesses and organizations in WKU all day long. It's what we do. For example, this year we launched the Downtown Ambassadors Academy, which took 24 WKU students off the hill and through six half-day sessions over the course of 8 months, got them engaged in different aspects of Bowling Green, from arts and culture, community, looking at business and economic development, local government, civic engagement, all of the types of things. And getting them engaged with these stakeholders and these people around Bowling Green that play a like super heavy and huge role in like the civic life, but also just like the feel that comes from Bowling Green. The job there was to get them to get these students to make themselves to feel a part of the Bowling Green community, and that is directly translatable to what we do in SGA. We want people to come to SGA and feel like it is a personal experience. We don't want them to feel like they're just another student walking in the door, signing the borrow calculator contract, and then leaving and then coming back in a few days when they're done with it. We want them to feel like they have been touched by SGA and by the work that we do in a very positive and very influential way, right? We want them to keep coming back. We want them to come back the next day and pick up a scholarship packet application. We want them to come back the next day and turn in their organizational aid application. We want them to keep coming back, and to do that, you have to make people feel like people, quite literally. And like I said, on those partnerships aspects, I think that is the key part of outreach, is outreaching to these nonprofits, these businesses, these organizations, and looking to be like, how can we use what we have in Bowling Green and also just the partnerships and sponsorships that I've been able to cultivate in my outside work to bring that to SGA. We've done that with the Downtown Ambassadors Academy, but also we've done it within SGA as well. Back in September, we held a Constitution Day celebration where SGA collaborated with the city of Bowling Green and Warren County, Kentucky to issue a proclamation recognizing Constitution Day. But we also got those same partners, as well as BG 2050, BGPD, BG Fire, the League of Women Voters, to come to Centennial Mall and celebrate with us for constitutions. We gave away little pocket constitutions to celebrate those types of things. And people showed up. People that did not know what SGA was showed up to grab a burger, grab a pocket constitution, and talk to people from the community. So it's those things, and that's when it clicked, right? That's when it clicked for us that like, this is what people are missing, and this is what people want SGA to be a part of that historically hasn't been super promoted or super focused on within administrations. And that's what we've done. We've continued to do that work. We want to keep it moving forward. And with the Lucas Barker Dairyberry ticket, not only with my own work in Bowling Green, but also Will, one of my best friends, he's from Bowling Green. He knows these people, right? He grew up with them. And so really utilizing those partnerships that we've already created and the work that we've already done in SGA to make that outreach and pull that connection piece in to make sure students are getting the full experience out of SGA that they deserve.
So we touched on this a little bit earlier, and you guys talked about it last night at the town hall. With the new dorm partner, how do you guys plan to implement a student voice into that dorm plan?
Absolutely. For that, the contracted partner is Gil Bain. It's the P3. It's the public-private partnership to essentially move WKU's dorms to another private ownership to make that happen. That's just kind of recently been announced, some of the specifics. And a lot of that is still being actually worked out within the current Student Life Foundation, which has previously been the owner of those WKU dorms. Of course, we're moving away from that model and moving to more of a, I think it's like called the Collegiate Housing Foundation, I think it's called, moving towards that as well. So that's going to look a lot different, right? But that's also going to require some tough conversations on how this is going to work. Historically, housing has been under the student body vice president, which for me would be Jake Barker if we're elected. Historically, that person has been the one to hold that student voice seat on the SLF board. Current Vice President Savannah Kurtz is doing a great job navigating that in this time of, transition, but also this time of questioning in terms of what that's going to look like. For us, the answer to that is really simple. It's going to be, I said this last night, the answer to these types of things is press and press hard. So we know that student voice for the Student Life Foundation has been essential in these conversations in terms of what the student experience in dorms and housing is going to be, but more specifically what that's going to continue to be. The simple answer to that is we need a strong leader who is going to continue to be the voice for the students that sits on that board within that Collegiate Housing Foundation. I think that's going to be a really interesting conversation for us to have because we're going to have to work with them as a private partner and as a public university to make sure that that's get done. that's not impossible, and it shouldn't be viewed as impossible. It's entirely possible. I'm confident in SGA able to do that, and I know that the Lucas Barker and Derryberry ticket, especially as we transition into that period, is going to take it super seriously. It's not going to be just a Jake Barker if he's elected a vice president thing. That's going to be an all-team thing, and quite honestly, an all-SGA thing to make sure that we get that student voice seat and preserve that. And I think the most important thing to highlight there too is just that, like, we've had to continue to fight for these things on this ticket. Currently, as an SGA senator, I sit on the Colonnade General Education Committee, which is actually, we just approved a motion. Faculty Senate is going to revamp their charter to no longer include that committee, but instead move the responsibilities to that committee to a faculty work group out of the provost's office. My first concern with that is what's going to happen to the student rep seat. Like, there is a student rep seat in SGA that comes from this, that sits on this committee, and that's an important voice for making these things work. With the new faculty work group and the way that Colonnade is being revamped, a lot of that sometimes doesn't line up with exactly the mission and kind of like almost a little bit the bureaucracy behind that, because some of those things have to happen to make this university work, right? And so whenever I first did this, I sat down and I talked with my other committee members. I'm like, listen, like, the number one important thing to me is preserving this student seat on this committee and making sure that that stays. And so on our committee, when we had to vote on this, I was like, listen, I'm happy to do this because it's clear that moving this into a faculty work group is going to make this process so much more efficient, but only if this student seat is preserved. And so in conversations with, at the time, Dr. Rob Hale, who is kind of an ex officio member, but as well as also Dr. Stacy Forsyth, who's chairing the Colonnade Rework group, we were able to come to a conclusion. So what's happening is now the Faculty Senate is going to reconsider to add another student seat to the Undergraduate Curriculum Committee, which already has one, which Will Derryberry is that representative. I'm proud to say that he is. To add another one, to preserve that same number of student representation just on that committee, because everything that Colonnade work group does is going right to UCC, the Undergraduate Curriculum Committee. And so I'm really glad to know that we were able to make that happen. And so we've already done it, and we're going to keep doing it with whatever this housing, with whatever the housing representation ends up looking like, and as WKU figures that out.
So I had the privilege and honor of having a meeting with Dr. Catherine LaRoche, who's over housing and has done an amazing job. And like I said, I talk about the housing crisis and whatnot. She has done a phenomenal job with meeting with us, meeting with other students, meeting with current SGA exec on how we can help solve this. And again, it goes back to our overall mission and goal of being for the students and helping enhance the college experience. Now, of course, like Caden said, we're going to have to work with our partners in figuring out how we can continue to work on that and enhance that. And I think it starts with, number one, figuring out what the issue is for students that are living in said dorms, right? So we look at that. These students are not only paying tuition to be here, they're going to class, you leave fresh, you leave pressed and go back. You want to go back to a dorm that you feel is comfortable, and you want to go back to a dorm that you feel is sufficient for you. And so that's why we've taken it upon ourselves to come out with that Google form, that Google Doc, and say, hey, what is the current issue, so that I can then take these issues to platforms like this on the radio while I'm sitting alongside the opposition, because, like I said, it's a very good chance that he gets elected and I don't. There's a good chance that I get elected and Kane Lucas does it. So again, addressing these issues and bringing these issues to the forefront so that if I'm not elected, Caden can take charge on it, or if I'm elected and Caden can let me know something about, hey, this student came to me about housing, here's an issue, we can then move forward together on it. Again, these dorms that we're getting ready to implement are not owned by us. Kind of like Center Hall, for example. Opening that up, taking a hotel and revamping it into a dorm, sweet lifestyle dorm, is very interesting. I'll be honest, when I first came to campus and saw Center Hall, I was like, man, okay, this is very interesting. And getting back into the swing of things with SGA. And I think the university has done an amazing job with taking the bull by the horns and just reacting to it. And again, I know and understand students are frustrated. We all get frustrated. I lived in Hugh Poland freshman year. I understand how frustrating it can be with communal bathroom dorms. Trust me, I get it. But the university is behind this. We are behind this. We are currently working to help solve this housing crisis, and it starts with clear communication and a plan of action. This is something that we could also take to the Board of Regents and bring up to them as well. This is an issue that students are having. So how can we help solve it? And our administrators around campus are more than willing to have these conversations. Like I mentioned earlier, getting water dispensers in dorms that don't have water fountains. This is an issue that students are having. Students do not have access to water at night. And again, we get over $100,000, from the university every single year within our SGA budget to help students in any way that we can. So my thing is, Hilltoppers shouldn't have to come out of pocket for water bottles and whatnot when we have a budget that can be allocated towards helping enhance their college experience with potential water dispensers. And that's something that his Vice President, Jacob Barker, has currently been working on within our committee. He's done an amazing job, might I add. And it's something that I've seconded and something that I would love to continue to bring to the table if elected. I think when we talk about P3 and the housing crisis, what are the specifics that students are having issues with? These are the specifics that we have to bring to the table and bring to the Board of Regents, bring into these meetings with Dr. Catherine LaRoche, and bring to administrators so that we can then let them know, hey, these are the issues that students are facing. What's our plan of action to solve it? So again, having that clear line of communication is something that I'm proud of. It's something that I'll continue to bring to the table if elected, of course.
Building off that question, it was said by Jacob Barker, your VP, on your ticket last night that the housing problem is a, quote, friction point on campus. Mm-hmm. How do you think WKU has handled the housing problem? Sorry, yeah.
Once again, I just touched on it. I think the university has done an amazing job with reacting to what we've had. Hilltopper Hall will no longer be here soon. We understand that. And when I was a freshman, Hilltopper, and me and Kane are in the same grade, so maybe he can attest to this. Hilltopper Hall was the place to be, man. I mean, you had the athletes there. I was in there a few times. I had a few friends that lived in Hilltopper Hall. Hilltopper Hall was an amazing dorm, and it's a tragedy as far as what's going to happen to that building. But again, it's out of our control. So what do? Right? Students need a place to live on this campus, right? So we have Center Hall. We have a place on campus that we turned an entire hotel into a dorm life now for students. And I think that's a testament to the university and the work that they've done to simply react to something that was out of our control. Once again, administrators like Dr. Kathleen LaRoche has done a great job with meeting with students who want to address these issues. Again, clear communication and an action plan. What are we going to do about it? The university reacted. We got Center Hall. Ms. Kathleen LaRoche has reacted, and she's gotten to sit down meetings with us. We were actually working on a housing survey that we wanted to get out to students before winter break. Kind of got put on the back burner, something that we would definitely continue, of course, if elected. And even if we're not elected, it's something that I would love to pass down to Mr. Caden Lucas right here, because it's something that is very important. And I believe that survey needs to go out because there are a lot of students around campus that are upset with the dorm hall situation right now. Maintenance as well. But again, to me, that's kind of out of their control because, again, we don't have a lot of maintenance workers right now. They're working with what they can. They're doing what they can. And that goes back to the university. I believe the university has done a great job with reacting and working with the cards that they're dealt. And I believe as student body president, it's my job to be a voice for the students and to communicate with university officials, administrative figures, faculty, and staff so that we can make sure that the student voice is being heard. Without the students, we have nothing. And the students, I'll say this, the students are the ones that are living in those dorm halls. So the most important thing out of all of this for me is student feedback, because they're the ones that have to lay their head there at night.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm very proud to say that my VP pick, Jacob Barker, has taken a huge hit on the notion of hacking away at those housing issues. Like Jaden said, he's started initially the water dispenser initiative, found that from his own experience in Mitten Hall, and wants to make sure that that's not a problem for students anymore, as well as working and just in general for that that after hours experience in terms of like a 24-hour experience, but also like getting students resources like printers and halls. But I think on that broader standpoint, that's why I'm so honored to have Jake Barker as my VP pick, because I know that he will take the issue of housing by the horns and really work with students to make sure that, one, that student voice is heard, like as we were talking about last night, but also to make sure that it's done effectively and in a safe way, in a way that's not just going to benefit students now, but students that have to live in these dorms like 5-10 years down the future, right? Because when the university administration thinks about WKU, they think about present, but a lot of times they're thinking about what is this going to look like in 5 to 10 years? What is this going to look like for retention rates in 5 to 10 years? And the university will tell you, like students in Kentucky, especially with like retention rates and application rates, students want newer dorms. Like that is just a general thing in the United States. Like students want to live in nicer, newer dorms. And that's an area that WKU obviously is working towards with this plan. But I also want to say that I think the university has done a great job of not even just being reactive, but being proactive in that instance, planning ahead of what they can do. And like you said, whenever they're dealt those cards, is making sure that they know exactly what has to happen. I've been here quite a long time, and I've seen those issues come arise. I was here when the students got back from winter break and were told that they had to move out of Hilltopper Hall. I watched those students walk out whenever that happened, and they knew that they had to find alternative housing. And I got the chance to talk to some of them and ask them what their experience was in this. And obviously, that's what creates that friction point that Jake was mentioning, right? That's what creates that point for students where they're like, this is hindering my experience as a Hilltopper. But again, on the university side of things, I'm so glad to see that we've recognized that not only just like what happens with dorms, but quite literally the framework behind how we govern them is maybe no longer working for the students. They've recognized that, and they've taken the notion to issue themselves into a P3 plan that other universities across the state, as well as some of our benchmark universities as well, have done to make these things happen. And I'm proud to see them taking that step, and I'm really, really, really excited to see what that ends up looking like. And like you just mentioned, Kane, like with that student voice, like that is another essential aspect of that. Making sure that the students do not go out of focus when we bring in this private partner, and making sure that students stay the same or have that level of value and that level of experience that this ticket wants to give them, and ensuring that that's replicated. We said last night that the university administration is only here because the students choose to be here, and that is this ticket's first and foremost thought when it comes to everything, and that applies to housing all the same.
So you briefly touched on the historic retention rates that we've seen, and you guys both talked about it at the meeting last night. What are your thoughts on the university's current trend of prioritizing retention and graduation as opposed to like just enrollment?
I think with that, I think it's interesting for a lot of reasons, because like I said, those are 3 different rates, and those all tell us a lot about what the WKU experience is, but also specifically about the students that gather here and what is attracting students. Of course, we've seen like some declines in enrollment rates from past years at WKU, and we recently know that WKU fell to the 3rd spot or below EKU. In terms of enrollment numbers as well. But I think that is something that indicates to the university administration, like there is something to be said and there's something to be done about that, right? And I think what that requires a lot of outreach on behalf of the university in terms of like looking at what students are wanting that are graduating from high school. What are students like wanting to see in a college experience? Granted, WKU has never once had a problem with the making people feel like they have a home here. That has never once been an issue for this university. There's a contagious spirit that floats about this campus, and that is a contagious thing that people take with them all over the place. And I always hear it when I give tours or when I'm doing stuff with Spirit Masters. Like people here feel that, and that is really, really, really important. But I think in that same rate to an idea, the university has to focus, like not only yes on bringing students in, but also once students are here, they have to be that number one focus, right? Like the students that walk this hill, they have to be that number one focus, and we have to make sure that those students are having that good experience and making sure that they feel like they're continually welcomed here, and that the resources that they are paying for are being reciprocated in their WKU experience. And so I'm glad to see the university taking a notion of that stance and making sure that that is implemented. But I think that also goes to say like there's issues with how we're bringing people in, and that has to be there. Those has to be a part of the conversation, and that's also an area that SGA has kind of not touched. Right. And so I think that opens up a great door for SJ to ask the university of like, how can we be involved with getting students on the Hill? I'm glad to see started by former Vice President Dante Reed several years ago, the WKU Bluegrass Leadership Scholarship, a scholarship from WKU for incoming high school students. I want to see more of that. My VP pick, Jacob Barker, obviously has handled a lot with scholarships in his time in SGA as chair of the Enrollment and Student Experience Committee. And I'm proud to see him want to carry that forward. And that's an emphasis for this ticket, as well as making sure of like SJ historically hasn't touched those like, admissions, enrollment side of things, but we have such a huge opportunity to be able to do that. And we want to see that expanded.
You said one thing that really rang in my head, graduation. Oh, I'm sorry. One thing that really rang in my head was graduation rates. And to me, it's important. Why are we here at college? Why are we here? Yes, I'm running for student body president. Yes, Kane Lucas is running for student body president. Why are we here? We're here to graduate. Academics is number one. And this is something that has been very personal to me because my freshman year, my best friend, he's been my best friend ever since freshman year of high school. He was here. Like I said, and we had a lot of fun. We were in ISEC. We were involved a lot. Like I said, he came to some SGA meetings with me. We were really living the college life. And we were excited for our future, right? Until we wasn't anymore because he's not here anymore. He's still there. He's alive. But he is not a student here anymore. And unfortunately, his grades fell. And he's given me permission to tell this story. But the reason why this is so personal to me is because he was a very close friend of mine and someone who had played an integral part in my college experience, someone that I was looking forward to moving forward with here at WKU, someone that I wanted to graduate with, someone that I wanted to run with in SGA as a senator with, someone who, I was hoping I could accomplish amazing things here on the Hill with, but he's not here anymore. And I think that's something to where, especially with SG from the SJ front, like Caden said, we've got to ask questions. What can we do? I talk about Rush Robinson all the time. He not only does a great job of getting guest speakers to our Senate meetings, but he always asks the question whenever, and because I've been with him whenever he's talked to admin, faculty, and staff, how can we help? How can I help? Mm-hmm. What can we do? How can we get involved to make sure retention continues to stay? How can we get involved to increase graduation rates? You talk about university not really focusing on enrollment. We want more Hilltoppers here. I'm sorry, I'm talking very fast. We want more Hilltoppers here. We want more students to come to WKU and, like I said last night, admire our beautiful campus. Admire our buildings, admire the hard work that every single university official puts into this university, that every single student puts into this university. We want that. So in order to get that, we have to ask the right people the questions on how to get there so that we can then continue to move WKU forward. Again, I think SGA has done an amazing part in this. Again, partnering with Housing and Residency Life, quiet hours during finals week, right? Getting, I believe it was the Commons, open for longer hours during finals week, more study spaces. One of the other things, and I can't say this without giving Barker credit, 24-hour space on campus. Yes, that's something that I've talked about, but and I've got to do this because it wouldn't be fair if I didn't. There's been nobody who's been advocating for a 24-hour space on campus any more than Jacob Barker. And I have to give you all credit for that because it's an initiative that needs to happen, and it's something that I know will happen, whether I win or whether you win. Jacob Barker has been advocating for that ever since he became chair of enrollment and student experience. And that's something that needs to happen because, again, it goes into it. I had an athlete tell me today that a 24-hour space needs to be there, right? When you get into the grind of studying and you're locked in and you're trying to get homework done and you're studying for an exam, and then you have one of the Commons workers, which isn't their fault. They're just doing their job. Walks up to you and says, hey, we close in 5 minutes. It's tough, right? When we were freshmen on the Hill, Jody Richards was 24 hours, right? I know they did renovations in there, but again, we want to get back to that. We want to advocate for that because, again, that's what Hilltoppers want. And so that's something that my ticket would be very much so proud to endorse. Something that we would take a lot of pride in helping get back to where it was. And again, we're honored to continue that initiative because it's so important. It's something that I think would contribute to higher graduation rates 1,000%, tenfold.
One of the major conflicts that we've seen with Kentucky higher education is the implementation of House Bill 4 and how it affects us as a university. How will you as SGA president continue to promote and encourage that diversity while also complying with legislation like House Bill 4?
Well, I tell people all the time, and I'll just say this very quickly because I'm going to give Caden a chance to talk. My freshman year, there was a certain someone that came to campus, and I was just a freshman. You know, I was my first semester, full semester in SGA, and there was a certain area of campus that was upset about that, right? They felt like their voice wasn't being heard. They felt as if this person was on campus and it was unsafe for them, essentially. That was the word that was used, that it wasn't safe for them. And that's something that I cherish and hold near and dear to my heart because they are students on this campus. What I also hold near and dear to my heart is the fact that the person that came to speak, there were students that wanted him there. Again, they're students as well. I tell people all the time, you have one side over here, you have one side over here. We need to meet dead smack in the middle. Why? Because we are for all students, not for some, not for these students, not for those students, for all students. So when we talk about House Bill 4, it's something that's definitely affected ISEC and something that's affected minority students across this campus. And again, it takes clear communication, conversation, and an action plan. I said this last night at the town hall. House Bill 4 doesn't say that you can't write a bill or legislation. House Bill 4 doesn't say that you can't come to a SGA meeting. House Bill 4 doesn't say that you can't come speak at a SGA meeting. House Bill 4 doesn't say that you can't attend a committee meeting. So we have to continue to do the things that makes SGA and this university great. We have to continue to advocate. We have to continue to reach out. We have to continue to be for the students. As student body president, that's something that I would hold near and dear to my heart because I come from an area of campus that doesn't feel as if they're being represented. And that's to me is also a friction point because I think our current student body president, Russ Robinson, has done an amazing job with helping certain areas of campus that may not have felt that love and that feel of like, hey, I feel represented. I think he's done an amazing job of reaching out to those aspects of campus and bringing them in. And I'd love to help that. Again, our Black History Month Trivia Night was amazing to help aid that initiative. We've got to continue that. We've got to continue to meet people where they are and bring them in while still cooperating with House Bill 4 rules and guidelines and, of course, our Constitution and bylaws within SGA. So, again, conversation, communication, and a clear action plan. House Bill 4 does not say we can't continue to be for the students, and that's what we'll continue to do if elected. That's what MBV endorses, of course.
And that's a great question, Kane. Thank you for asking that. And I want to say too, a lot of people don't realize, but like obviously House Bill 4 hit this university hard. And I'm very, very grateful to come and belong to a university that saw that coming and took action before it occurred. I'm very grateful to have a great relationship with Mr. Michael Crow, the Director of Student Conduct, who's kind of the lead person behind the WKU One or the One WKU campaign. And I'm proud of that campaign as being a student at this university. But one thing in House Bill 4 that people don't realize is that student governments are explicitly mentioned in the basically the list of ones that have to comply with this new set of laws. And so we had to reconsider what are the criteria that we have that like we have to convey to students to make these things work. And now that we have to make them neutral, what does that look like? So we had to ask a lot of questions too. And I'm very grateful as well to Ms. Jennifer Smith, the Director of Government Community Relations, as well as Ms. Andrea Anderson, General Counsel for the university, for coming to WKU at the beginning of this academic year in the fall and being like, listen, like this is what's happening now, and this is what your responsibility is as a student government association, and we are here to help. So I'm very grateful to have that support from them and to continue to have that. And we've had to lean on that. As chair of Legislative Operations Committee within SGA, my job, along with my committee, is to look at every piece of legislation before it goes to the Senate floor. We review it, we provide some feedback, we clear up some words here and there, we make sure the numbers are all good, all of those things. That's our job. And so it's fallen on me and my committee to make sure that the legislation that we're looking at meets the requirements under House Bill 4, and we've had to make sure that we comply with those things. Right. I'm very proud. Next week in Senate there will be a bill where WKU is hopefully going to partner with NPHC to sponsor the NPHC Preview Day. Very, very honored to work on that bill with Miss Amelia Tucker, as well as current NPHC President Miss Raina Taylor, who is one of my dear friends. But when we first started conversations about that, we had to consult with Miss Andrea Anderson, being like, listen, we want to make sure that we're doing our job, and we want to make sure that SGA is staying compliant and WKU is staying compliant, because if we're not compliant, nothing gets done at the end of the day, right? And so we want to make sure that we're meeting that criteria the best that we can and supporting those students in that same way. And I'm so glad to be a part of an initiative that's hopefully going to take place next week in the Senate meeting that is still striving to make those things happen and bridge those men's. Because I said this last night, our Hilltopper experience is not the same experience without those populations and those students on campus that make what it is to be a WKU student what it is, right? That experience is only the same without them, and I'm glad to be part of an SGA that has done their part to make that happen, and we only want to carry that forward and maybe and even expand it in that regard as well.
This was a question asked by somebody in the crowd at the town hall last night, and I thought it was such a good question. I wanted to ask y'all at this platform as well. But a lot of SGA is involved in Greek life. I believe both of y'all are in fraternities, and Greek life only represents a small amount of WKU students. Right. So how are you going to make sure as president that people don't believe SGA is just an extension of WKU Greek life?
Yeah, and that's a great question. And this has been something that's brought up at the topic conversation before, and it's always helpful that we acknowledge and we realize this. The SGA specifically has a long history of being very Greek heavy, and like you just said, like me and Jaden are both a part of the Greek community right now. We're standing in front of you, and we're a part of that community, and proud to be a part of it as well. Absolutely. But I think the really important thing to look at here is that Greek life is just such a small circle of what we do. I mean, Jaden just listed off several organizations he's involved in. I'm very proud that he's involved in. I'm proud to have him as a friend in that regard too, as well as for me. Being involved in things like Pre-Law Student Association, the Hilltoppers Vote Coalition, working on things like that, being involved in downtown, all of these different organizations that represent and touch so many different parts of the student body and so many different parts of this campus. And so for me, that looks like bringing in those types of organizations, reaching out to those RSOs directly. And like I said earlier, going to them, like literally going to those RSO meetings as the SGA Executive Cabinet, showing up in our positions that represent the student body and being like, listen, we value your experience here as Hilltoppers, and we wanted to come today to show you that we care and show you that we want your voice to be heard in SGA. And granted, a lot of times those students are going to overlap. Some of those students in those organizations will be Greek. They'll belong to those RSOs. They'll belong to certain dorm halls. Some of those people grew up together in the same hometown, right? And that is the beauty of what makes WKU, is that all of these individuals came from so many different places across the United States, across the world. And all of these people come together and build this beautiful puzzle of what WKU is. And Greek life is a very small part of that. Greek life has been, obviously, like I said, heavily influenced in SGA, and that those individuals should be proud of that. But also, we have a responsibility to make sure that in that instance, that populations are being represented in all regards, in all facets. Like I said, this experience at WKU is only this experience with all of those populations occurring in the same place, and we're proud to support an SGA that does that. And like I said, we all belong to these different organizations, and we bring all of that with us. It's not just about being Greek. I think that's important, but I think there's so much more that can be represented and so much more that is represented, and it's our job to make sure that that continues. And we'll do that through that direct outreach to those students, bringing in partners from the outside community, and getting people, like I said, that missing connector piece that really gets people that haven't been involved in SGA involved.
So when asked this question last night, I took the stance of, we understand that we're running an election right now. And Caden knows a lot of people around campus. I know a lot of people around campus. And so we understand that some votes might be part of a popularity contest. There may be some people out there that don't even care about what we're saying right now. We're just going to be honest, right? I believe in full honesty and transparency. There may be some people out there that say, I know Caden Lucas or I know Jaden Marshall. Click, submit, vote done, right? And so a lot of times when you have elections like that, a good candidate gets passed over because they're not as known as someone who may be more popular, right? I've said it 1,000 times. It's going to get redundant. I'm going to keep saying it until this election's over and either Caden or me is elected. You don't have to be a senator to come to an SGA Senate meeting. You don't have to be a senator to produce a bill or legislation. You don't have to be a senator to come to a committee meeting. And so that's the thing. We want more students at SGA meetings. We want more students producing bills and writing legislation. My current vice presidential pick, Caden Blankenship, was one of the two student guest speakers that we had this year. The other was Miss Raina Taylor, who's our current MPC president. She's done an amazing job. Very good friend of Caden's, very good friend of mine. The only two that we've had. We want more of those. So how are we going to do it? Once again, I said partnering with our outreach committee. We want to go and talk to RSOs. I will be there. Our outreach committee will be there. We want to go talk to RSOs. We want to partner with more community organizations. Warren County Day Treatment Center, Curbside Ministries, downtown. Absolutely. Let's keep that partnership going. Partner with our high schools. One of the things that our current Vice President Savannah Kurtz has done, she's done an amazing job with getting speaking engagements for us to go and talk at high schools about our scholarship process. And it's amazing because, again, these are your future hilltoppers. These are your future hilltoppers that are going to be coming to the university, and they're going to carry on that hilltopper tradition, like Caden said, 5 to 10 years, 15 years from now. And so to me, those are the important things that we have to hit. Outreach is so important, and it's not just if you're involved in Iota Phi Theta or Fiji or Sigma Phi Epsilon or Alpha Delta Pi. It doesn't matter. I have several friends in the rock climbing club that don't know anything about SGA, right? And so we've got to meet them where they are. We've got to bridge that gap. And I think the weekly Senate reports that my administration wants to produce would be a big part of that. Because again, the SGA page has a lot of followers, has grown immensely over the past year. It's amazing. We want to grow that. We want more followers for the SGA page. We want more followers on the TikTok page. We want more students getting involved. I also want to increase, and I didn't mention this last night, I also want to work to increase weekly tabling, right? I mean, my campaign is tabled all week, and we've got a lot of people to put eyes on our campaign because of it, and it's truly helped. It's helped get our name out there. It's helped get Caden's tickets name out there because we've mentioned them as well, and it's good for SGA. And so that outreach is so important. We got to get out there, and I've already started doing it, and it's something that I'll continue if elected because it's the only way that we can get more students involved. We've got to meet them where they are. I'll say this and then I'm done. Mr. Wayne Simpson came and spoke to us. And SGA is one of the several student speakers that our current student body president, Rush Robinson, has got for SGA this past year. And he said something that stuck with me. And we said it several times, we've got to meet students where they are. And ever since then, I've carried that mentality with me. We've got to take SGA on the road. We've got to put SGA in rooms that it's never been in before. And that's something that MBV will do on day one.
We've heard a lot of great responses from you guys. Thank you. I'll just leave you guys with one final thing. Why do you feel that you personally are the best person to fulfill this role?
I can start. Absolutely. Like I said, and I just want to. I can't start this off by commending Mr. Caden Lucas, man. I said it last night. I'll say it again. This dude, you talk about a generational talent. I mean, this dude is amazing with the way he talks, the way he carries himself, the Downtown Ambassador program that he has. This dude teaches here on campus, man. Like he is the standard for what WKU is, and it's such an honor to be competing against him. But I'm here to advocate for Jaden Marshall. I'm someone who's passionate. I've got a fire burning inside of me that in my opinion, can't be replicated or duplicated. I can't explain it. And to me, it's a God-gifted attribute that was just given to me at birth. My mom always tells me, she's like, no weapon formed against you shall prosper. When God and Jesus is for you, who can be against you? And I've taken that into this campaign. I can't tell you how many times I've been stressed out or worried about, oh, is this going to happen? Oh, is this going to happen? Is this going to happen? And then a student will walk up to me and they'll say, hey, I see your table in here. I'd love to talk to you. And it just brightens my day and just takes my mind off of it, because that's what this is about, right? That's what this is about. We're getting out there. We're putting SGA's name out there, and we're doing the work. Why am I the best candidate? I've already started doing it. This isn't something that I've started just around election time or just because I wanted to run for student body president. I started ever since I got to campus. I started when I was sworn back into SGA, and I've continued doing it up until election cycle. We want to get involved. We want more outreach on SGA. We want to fix the housing issue. We want a 24-hour space on campus. We want water dispensers in dorms. We want, honestly, a 24-hour restaurant on campus. I don't know how feasible that is, but it's something that we'll definitely work towards. It's the reason why we have that Google form out right now. We want to hear from Hilltoppers. That's why our slogan is for the Hill, for the students, for you. We want to hear from you and what you want changed around campus and how we can enhance your college experience. And I've already done it, and it's something that I'll continue doing. I don't know why I'm like this. I don't know why I have this burning passion, this fire, this ability to just want to help, but I do. And I feel that I can serve in this position the best because I have that, and because I've already started networking with admin, faculty, and staff around campus who are going to help me if I'm in this position. I'm not coming into this position knowing everything, right? There's a lot that I'm going to have to learn, but guess what? I'm willing to do it. I'm willing to take those necessary steps to learn the position, to continue to grow into the position. And I'm coming in with ideas. But again, why am I the best candidate? It's because I'm passionate. I've got ideas. I've already been working for the students, and we're going to continue to be for the Hill, for the students, for you. Thank you so much.
First and foremost, amen to that, Jaden. It was just phenomenal. I just love getting to see you do what you're passionate about, and it's been such an honor to not only be in SGA with you the past several years, but just be friends. I'll never forget. We supported each other during our first campaign several years ago, and I just appreciate be able to compete, but also be friends with and sit next to someone such as yourself. It's just such an honor, and I just appreciate the work that you've done for students. I have never, ever once doubted your appreciation for this Hill or the students, and I know that will be the same regardless. For Lucas Barker Derryberry, this has always been about the central mission of putting students at the epicenter of everything that we do in SGA. Not only within SGA, but within our lives as people and as Hilltoppers on this campus. We care about these students. We care about putting them in pathways to participate in SGA and making sure that the resources, the tangible things that we can produce, the resources that we have are there for them, bringing them to them, taking them to those students, and making sure that they can have them. For us, a lot of what this is about, and especially with why we think our ticket should win, is more or less the experience that we bring. Between the three of us, we have 3 committees chaired within SGA, over 20 pieces of authored legislation, and countless hours pouring through working on scholarship grading, organizational aid grading, student advocacy, creating resources such as transcript vouchers, doing events, coordinating with exec, all the things that keep SGA running, but also keep it functioning for students in better, bolder, and more efficient and more clearer ways is really, really important. And that's what this ticket has been about since day one. And I think the central aspect behind that is not only placing students at that center and making sure that mission is staying on track, but the way to make sure that mission stays on track is the accountability that we have in one another. Jaden has been one of my rocks over the years, and I know for a fact that Jacob Barker and Will Derryberry on my ticket are 2 of my biggest rocks, and I'll be leaning on them. This work is not easy. It's not easy as a senator. Advocating for the students and creating these things and making sure that these resources are felt and are impacted by students and that students feel like their SGA cares about them is hard work. And it only happens with a team of individuals who are dedicated to making it work, making it happen, day in, day out, 24/7, 365, never stopping, full throttle, all the way there. And the Lucas Barker Derryberry ticket is the way to do that because of the way that we've poured into SGA over the years, the way that SGA has poured into us, and what we've been able to give back to that as well. We care about the students. We want to place them at the center of what we do. We're honored to be in this race alongside Jaden, and just so excited for what the future of WKU is.
Well, this has been the 2026 SGA presidential debate brought to you by Revolution Radio and the College Heights Herald. I don't know about you guys, but I've had a lot of fun today. I want to thank Caden and Jaden for sitting down with us. Real quick, why don't you let our listeners know where and when they can vote on this election?
I was gonna say. So you can vote on TopNet. Voting will open, I believe, at 7 p.m. on April 13th.
7 p.m. Monday, April 13th.
Yep. We'll go to April 15th at 7 p.m.
7
and then
p.m.
we
as well.
We should have the results at 7:01.
Yes, right after that.
Party will be in the SGA Senate chamber.
SGA Chambers.
So come on out. Looking forward to it. And I want to say this before we go off. Regardless of who wins, the student body is getting a great SGA president,
Absolutely.
a great student body president, and a great student regent on the board of regents.
Absolutely. And thank you again to Revolution Radio and the College Heights Herald for being here with us today. We appreciate you all so much in the work that you do. WKU journalism is an incredible facet of this university and a nationally recognized one, and I'm so honored to be sitting with you all today. But thank you all again.
Thank you guys. It's been a lot of fun.